Hello. Wow, this feels really loud. Yay, everybody can hear, because I can see people on the other side are giving me the look. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being on time. That's pretty amazing, actually. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being on time. Hopefully you got your lunch. You can sit down. We have a great panel of folks that we're going to introduce you to and talk a little bit for the next hour. And then just to kind of set the stage on what's going to happen, once we're done with this hour, you'll head down the stairs, and there are 3 classrooms set up for the 3 tracks. The financial track is going to be the big classroom right as you get to the bottom of the stairs, and there will be people to guide you around the corner to 2 other classrooms for the other tracks. So, and we're going to have a track at 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to come back up here, and the lunch stuff will have magically disappeared, and there will be appetizers and an open bar. And then we'll get you all liquored up, and then we'll have the keynote here. And so Susan will be in our keynote. I see she's here, and Beth Finbo and Neil Mulgard. And so we'll have a little bit. And so that's kind of how the day will go. We want to say thank you to Shannon and Stacy of Red Wing Ignite who made it happen today. Yay! So the E1, which is led through Red Wing Ignite, is funded through Launch Minnesota, which is a deep program to support entrepreneurs in the state of Minnesota and help you launch your business and fund your business. And if you don't know, you can also apply for grants to start your business or move your business forward. So all of those things are open. That's who's funded today, so we appreciate that. There are some ecosystem supporters who have tables on the other side, and they're going to be at their tables throughout the afternoon, so you get a chance to meet with them. And we have a wide variety of folks here today, from people who can help you with your finances to people like the Small Business Development Center, to organizations like Rady, Corson Aries. So I'm going to give you the obligatory plug here real quick. The Kabara Institute is part of St. Mary's University, and that's who owns the facility that can host our WE forums. And so every month we gather a group of people together where they can learn from entrepreneurs and kind of support each other. And so in that vein, I want to say that our January WE forum is going to be the last Thursday in January, and it's going to be about finding your tribe. And how do you find those people who can help you and support you through your business journey? So I'd encourage you to come to that again, if you'd like to. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to sit down, try really hard to see my panel and not fall off the side of the stage in the middle of it. So if that happens, just consider it entertainment, and we'll keep moving and pretending it didn't happen. But for now, I'm going to start. I'm going to ask each of the groups, and so what we have here today is 3 couples who have co-founded their business. And so we thought it'd be fun to hear kind of that dynamic of when you go into business with your significant other, the good, the bad, how that works out, and then kind of a little bit about their businesses as well. So we're going to start with Jim and Crystal, who have Trail Creek Coffee Roasters. So if you could just tell us a little bit about your business, when you had the idea, when you decided to launch your business. And I'll remind you guys, you're probably muted mics, you'll have to come off mute just like on Zoom.
All right, so we are Jim and Crystal Whitmarsh with Trail Creek Coffee Roasters. We want the block. Yeah, so you can get a little closer. Oh, closer, okay. We officially started our business in 2017 under the cottage food exemption. We started roasting coffee in our garage. Before that, it was more of a hobby on a popcorn popper, and Jim would do that just for us so that we can enjoy coffee and save a little bit of money at the same time. And it made the house really smoky, which was the downside to it. And also temperature was an issue, so you couldn't just roast in the garage when it was really cold out. So he would do that in our laundry room, I think it was. So that's where we started. And so for 2 years after we began under the cottage food exemption, going to farmers markets, community events, and selling direct to consumer, we reached a point where our business was either going to grow or stay the same, and we opted to grow, and that's when we started to rent a commercial building from the city of Casson and moved our roaster in there and started to do more of the food manufacturing side, where we got licensed to sell retail to grocery stores and wholesale, online and shipping. And that really kind of launched our business to the next level at that point. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy time, and then obviously the pandemic hit, so that threw a whole bunch of different wrenches into our plan. But yeah, more on that later.
Okay, so thank you very much. So, by the way, we get Trail Creek coffee for our reforms, so just so you know. And we might have to change the time of day, because we were just talking to Steve Brown about the idea maybe you should bring some beer. So we might have to have a later in the day reform to do that. But if you guys want to tell us a little bit about your business and how you get started.
Sure, we're Dawn and Steve Finney, and we are the owners of Little Crystal Brewing Company here in Rochester. We started, well, I should say, Steve started home brewing in the late 90s, so had been home brewing for a really long time, and it got to the point where we just had more beer than the two of us could possibly drink. And so we kind of opened up our home for a group of people to come in and taste beer and kind of give us feedback. And so that went on for quite a while, till finally Steve had a product where it was, we felt like it was good enough for public consumption. So we started a business plan in January of 2017 and found a property with the help of our real estate person is here in the audience. So found a property here in Rochester. It was important that this property fit a bunch of different things for us, and that was having a good community space, a big area for parking. We really wanted it to be accessible to a bike trail or walking trail or public transportation. And because it is an alcohol production company and consumption company, we wanted people to be able to get there by bus, by another mode of transportation. So we're right on the Douglas Trail. Actually, if you took the Douglas Trail from here, you walk right past our building. So we closed on that property in November of 2017, and then opened our business finally in August of 2018. So we were fortunate to have a year of business under our belts before the pandemic hit. So we feel really grateful for that. There was a lot of people who weren't fortunate. I think that's about our business.
Okay, thank you. And so then we have Hannah and Gesh, and the two of them have started Eureka Kids here in town. And so I want to hear a little bit about that journey.
We are Hema and Mangesh. We own the Eureka Kids Child Care Center here in Rochester. So both of us work for Mayo Clinic, but we have passion for kids, and that is what got us to where we are. The ideation started beginning of 2017, and we decided to build our center ground up, and we closed on the land in June of 2017, and officially the childcare center started July of 2018. So our childcare center focuses on kids from 6 weeks to 6 years, or until the kids go to kindergarten. And safety and security have been the biggest focus for us, along with we follow smarter childcare approach to ensure that kids are up to date on the technologies. And smarter is what smarter is along with STEM and STEAM, what the Rochester Public Schools and the other schools follow. We added 2 R's, which is to focus on reading and relationships. And all our weekly schedule that we follow with the kids, we try to focus on all these key elements and aspects so that, there is a wholesome development of a child. And also we do bring in the cultural diversity. So we try to get kids on or educate kids on the multiple diversities that exist. So that way, Rochester being a diverse community, it would be good to educate kids on that, so that way they don't end up in a cultural shock when they go to school or when they go for work and so on. Anything to add?
Hi, my name is Mangesh. So we actually had many options, but we chose to create our own brand, our own concept. That's the reason we started building our own, ground up. And everything that you see in our center is basically something that is unique in some way. It was a wonderful journey, to be honest, when we started thinking about starting a business sometime in 2017. 2018 we started, and it's been quite a ride. It's not easy to start a business, that to start with the construction and get everything up and ready, and then operate, hiring staff, and a lot of things. I'm sure we'll talk about it as we continue this program.
Yeah, so you got heavy upfront costs to build a daycare center and that. Can we talk a little bit about who your customer is? And I guess while you have the mic, we know there's a great need for daycare in Rochester, but who are the people? How are you reaching them? Who's your typical customer? Let's talk about that.
Sure. So, like Emma mentioned, we cater to 6 weeks to 6 years. That essentially infant program, we have a toddler program, and also a preschool and pre-K program. Most of our clients are from Rochester. We were hoping actually our location is right here. So when we created a business plan, we were thinking probably if parents come from Byron or Catherine area, they might basically use our facility, but we have so much of need in Rochester that did not happen. So it's a good thing. Most of our parents actually either customers, they are in and around Rochester. I would say this being a Mayo clinic town, most of them are either work in Mayo, physicians, nurses, or technicians, or IT. We do have some folks who work, other places. Anything else?
No, but I just kind of try to get an idea of who you're reaching. How are you reaching them? How are they finding out about you?
Sure.
Initially, when we started, we used different marketing approaches. Mostly everything was through the internet, but now it is word of mouth. So as I said, we started in 2018. It was a journey. So we started, day one was with 2 or 3 kids at the center. And then end of 2018, you'd say we were 25%. And beginning of 2020, when just before COVID hit, we were almost full. And once COVID hit, we kind of got to 75%, and now we are back up again. So now it's mostly word of mouth. I'm sure we are providing good service to the clients, and it's mostly through the word of mouth that we are getting inquiries.
Okay, thank you.
We do run campaigns on social media, and Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, other places where we have our Google ads. We have done some in the initial stages. We had some boards in downtown Rochester. We had some hoardings on the highway. I mean, we have done all traditional And now, most of that actually is everything is on social media.
Right. Yeah, and so you're in a position where you can kind of, you fill your seats and then you're good. If I could go to Don and Steve, so unlike that, I know some of your typical customers, but can you talk a little bit about who are your customers and how you're reaching them?
Well, I think our customers have to be drinking age, obviously, and then it's everyone. And it's really important to me and Don that, there are some breweries who are so focused or have a certain, I don't know, part of the market that they want to, cater for. But for us, we wanted to be a really family-friendly place, number one. And then we have kids, and when we were into craft, well, we're still into craft beer, but when we were really into craft beer, we were younger, our kids were super young, and we always appreciate places that would allow us to bring our kids and be safe and all that kind of stuff. So that was huge for us. So we continue to have a place that we feel where anyone can feel safe to come with their children. And we create a product, beer, and we create certain products that we want. We try and create a large variety of products. So when someone comes in, they can find something they want. I think it would be a failure if someone walked in the door and they walked out. That's a lost customer, and so lost revenue, all that stuff. So we really wanted to hit all of those things. And so we have people who are really into craft beer. We have people who are don't know anything about craft beer, but we've tried to create a space and create staff who can provide that education and experience so people feel comfortable. It can be really overwhelming to come in and see 20 beers on tap and you don't know what they are. But you can create an environment that makes people feel comfortable with that. We have an outdoor space, we do music, we have a private space, we use social media, we've used Rochester Women's Magazine, we've used TV, we've used multiple areas of social media. Word of mouth is huge, and just being out in the community. And even this afternoon, I'm going to go to Hy-Vee Barlow and get out 3 samples of beer. So I'm going to do it right there, and I love doing that because I can talk to people about anything about beer. And so I'm going to pass over to Don because beer tourism is a huge thing too.
Really putting you on the spot there, but so like you said, we want to create a wide variety of products. A lot of the beer that we make is actually really low alcohol content. And we did that intentionally because we really wanted to create a gathering space where people could come, they could meet family, they could meet friends, they could hang out. And we wanted people to be able to do that in a responsible way and still enjoy themselves with a really flavorful craft beer. So if you come to our space, we have, like the heavy barrel aged, high alcohol content, higher stuff. But we have a lot of our beers that are really approachable and really meant for that hanging out with your friends and having a couple beers and relaxing. And so, and we, like Steve said, we have a big space. And so we want to make that available in the summertime, especially during COVID, people felt comfortable coming to our space. And that was really meaningful to us, to be able to have folks that, would maybe never would have come to our space, but they felt comfortable coming to Little Thistle because we had a large outdoor space. They felt safe. And it was someplace that they could go and just kind of pretend like they were back in the before times. So that was I think anything that came out of the pandemic that was really meaningful for us. We had more people coming to us to share that experience. And then Steve wanted to mention craft beer tourism, but in Southeast Minnesota now that we have a pretty wide variety of craft beer and craft breweries, there is an opportunity to build that out in Rochester and have people come to Rochester specifically for wine, for beer, for cocktails, for restaurants. And we have such a nice community here, and it's not like you're going to the Twin Cities and tackling the traffic and all of that. So that is one thing that I'm really interested in, and I've been really trying to work on building that message for that Rochester's a fun place to come.
Keep working at that. I do have a follow-up question on that. So I know you can go to your location craft beer, but you mentioned Hy-Vee. Where else are you partnered with in town for your products?
since you asked. So no, we've grown though too, and we grew out of the pandemic. So we really were in a few bars and restaurants, and then everything shut down. And so that kind of forced our hand to package our beer in cans. And that's all we were doing during the pandemic, and all we could do was sell it at the back door of the brewery. So thankful to the community for supporting us, otherwise we never would have made it through. People came and bought beer, and then we ended up getting a canning line. So now we have beer in several liquor stores. So all three Andes, the Hy-Vee, Barlow, and People's Co-op. I think there's one of the Jack's Falls up too, and then a mixture of bars and restaurants around town too. And we choose those one, two, we're small, and it's mainly based on personal connections too. People we've known, we've lived in this community for over 20 years, so we kind of want to be. Our goal is to be, the local beer that the people can have, and so that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. Yeah. So, all right, Jim and Crystal. So coffee's a little bit different, and it requires a lot of partnerships in town that really serve the coffee, and we usually bring it to us, and that's awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about who your customers are and how they're finding you and how you're connecting with the community?
Yeah, so our customers are anybody who drinks coffee, and luckily for us, we don't have an age restriction on that. So in fact, if you brought your kids to the farmer's market ever, we will even offer, a double espresso for the kiddos. When we first got started, being a brand new business, and I'll even go back to when we were doing cottage food, we had to go out and find our customers. So we would do a lot of local vendor events, different types of markets, a couple of farmers markets here and there. And yeah, just really going out and showcasing our product to new people. And obviously we were meeting a lot of new people at the time. Now that we've kind of settled in a little bit, we rely mainly on word of mouth, I would say. But we also have, social media is pretty big for us. We do a little bit of advertising, doing like radio ads and things like that. And what else? I'm not doing that good. I'm looking at Crystal and I don't know how to like, all right, I'll pass the mic.
That's part of the fun of doing business with her husband, which we joke, we are still married after running this business together for over 4.5 years now. But no, so yeah, like you said, originally we really had to put ourselves out there a lot. We went to a lot of different events. We found out which events worked and which events didn't really work for us in terms of turning into a customer purchase. So it really took a lot of just trial and error that way. And then social media we do a little bit of, but I'm also doing that on top of everything else and working a full-time job. So that kind of falls to the wayside sometimes. So I apologize if you follow us and it seems very scattered. I'm working on getting that more scheduled and regular. But and then definitely word of mouth. Once you get out there and put yourself out there at community events such as the Lead Forum, and we did. What was that? That was pre-pandemic. We went to 1 Million Cups and presented there. Just kind of finding those little niches to network and meet more people and get the word out there about your business and your product. That was really helpful. And now people spread the word for us, so that's really helpful. Trying to think of what else we've done. Now that we have grown and we are in. We're in West Circle Hy-Vee, Barlow, and Crossroads Hy-Vee here in town, so you can find our coffee there. 2 of the locations are in the health market. All 3 are in the health market, so it's not in the coffee aisle next to the, generic coffee brand, which I think that was really helpful, just finding where our coffee belongs. Because if somebody's shopping for coffee and they don't know anything about us or our story, they're probably going to pick the one that's more cost effective. But we've also found that sharing our story and connecting with others, kind of like what Steve was saying about being a family-friendly business, really I think is what keeps bringing people back. Because when you look at just a product, there's a lot of good coffee roasters out there. But when you can share your story of growth and connection with your customer, they're like, oh yeah, that's Trail Creek, that's Jim and Crystal, I'm gonna support that. So I think that's really important for us, as well as partnering, for different events, providing catering, coffee for We Forum, for 1 million cups a couple of years ago. What else? St. James Coffee Shop uses all of our coffee there in Northeast Rochester for brewed coffee and fun fancy drinks. What's it? Packaged coffee too. And then also, we're based out of Casson, so there's Smiling Moose Coffee in Casson that serves our coffee with their espresso drinks. And there's a new place coming to Byron that will be using our coffee as well. So we're slowly growing, and we found that instead of freaking out at every no that you get, because that's going to happen, just hanging in there, because the right connections will happen at the right time, and your business will grow like it's supposed to.
Yeah. So while you still have the mic before you mute it, everybody chooses a different way to fund their business, whether they're going to do it with their own savings or go to a bank for a loan, or how they're going to do that. So can you talk a little bit about how you did that and anything you learned from that process?
I'm going to pass this one on to my husband, who handles most of that.
No record or anything. I guess, fortunately for us, getting our start as a cottage food, really the only investment that was required was the roaster itself, outside of some packaging and things like that. But we were able to fund that with our savings. And then once we found a commercial space to lease, we did have to do a little bit of work to get that food manufacturing ready, which also was a small investment that again, we used our savings. And now that we're kind of growing more, we did use an EDA loan for part of the commercial build out. But yeah, initially it was in savings. Now that we've kind of grown, purchased a larger roaster here within this past year, we did reach out to finance that. And that was through a CETA micro enterprise loan. So we were really fortunate to be able to work with CETA. And then, yeah.
Now I'm taking over. But I just wanted to comment on, when you're starting, you don't have a lot of profit to show, right? So any business requires putting money into it, and it takes a while for that to become profitable. So getting financing from even just local banks is tricky, because they look at it and they're like, well, how do you know you're going to turn a profit and this will become successful to be able to pay us back for that? So we were really thankful for our connection to CETA, because that micro enterprise loan was what allowed us to grow our business and really start getting out into more coffee shops and retail stores.
That's actually fun for people to have to go back and forth and hear from both of you. All right. Don, you've got the mic. So on you.
So I'm going to try and make this applicable to probably what people want to hear in the room. But we have funding from various sources. We have investors, we have a traditional bank loan, and we have a small business development loan. And maybe not most importantly, but one of the biggest things for us was we got a loan from Smith, the small Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, that was specifically for working capital. And that was maybe one of the things that we hadn't anticipated that was most beneficial for us. So it's one thing to go out and ask people, to invest in your business, and for a bank, you have to, we went to 9 different banks, just so you're aware of it's a lot of work, and it was worth it. But that working capital was so important. It allowed us to train our staff before we opened, and it allowed us to pay our staff for that training, and to make sure that we had, things that when we opened that we just didn't anticipate needing. And those were a lot of things. And so had we not had that working capital, I think we really would have suffered, especially in a business like ours, where It's really based on first impressions. People can come in, and if your staff is not trained or they feel like people had a bad first experience, they'll tell other people that. And so for us, it was really important to have everybody's first experience be a really good experience, and the working capital allowed us to do that. I also want to say our investors were all local people. We have 30 investors who invested small amounts of money, not small amounts, but smaller amounts than those were all people who believed in what we wanted to do in Rochester. And it wasn't just that they believed in us, but they wanted something like this in Rochester. They wanted that experience to be able to have an experience like what we wanted to create, and they wanted other people to have it in Rochester. So they not only felt like they were investing in our business, but felt like they were investing in this community. And that was a big part of our business.
Yeah, I'm just gonna reiterate that too, because you got to have investors first before you go to the bank. You got people who believe in you before you can do that. So it was a lot of time and me going and having coffee with people, having a beer with people, and communicating with people and actually asking them, would you like to invest in our company? So having some pretty important conversations and being able to communicate on that level. I enjoyed doing it. It was a ton of work, but that was first. So without those people, we had several people who don't even drink beer. So it's the same concept what Don said. We're not really, I think sometimes, yes, we have a product with an alcoholic beverage, but really we're like a large community gathering space. That's what it's about. Human beings, and I'm very happy to come from Scotland, the home of the pub. Anyone's welcome in the pub. Dogs, cats, people, whatever. And then, so it's really important us that as human beings, we make social connections. I think we've learned that since the pandemic. So we have to thank our investors. The other thing I want to say was another plug for Smith, the Southern Minnesota Industry Foundation, because when you have banks, a bank will loan you money, and an SBA loan is very good too. We had those too. So they were all for construction, they were for building out, and a very, very specific line items that you must use for this, and that's fair enough. But it's Smith. They're an independent organization out of Owatonna. They don't follow those same rules. So one of the best days during all of it was extremely stressful, spending a lot of money, and I met with Diane from there, and she came to see what was going on. And it goes, it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks before we open. And she goes, well, we've got this loan, whatever. And she goes, when would you like the money? And I said, well, could we have it like now? And she said, yeah. You can basically just write a check there. And you don't get that with banks. It's a little bit more, and we're very thankful to ONB, who's our bank, and the SBA too. But again, incredibly nimble on their feet, and then helped us out at a time when we really needed it to train our staff. So can't say enough about them. Oh, other one thing too is someone wearing some of the stuff here was Score Group in town. We worked with Rick Inderly. Some friend his name, and he was is he here today? I don't know, but very honest person. And
I'm not Rick, but I'm Mark. It's small business development.
yes, and so I recommend them absolutely. We could give our business plan to them. They tore it apart, and Rick was incredibly honest about whether this would work or not with finances. Questioned everything. And I think that was another valuable thing. Your dream is so wrapped up in emotionally. You do need to step back and take some criticism and feedback and maybe go back to the drawing board and reevaluate too, which is not what you want to hear, but that's why we reach out to these people to help.
The last thing you want to do is open a business that is not going to be successful. And so if you have somebody else that can evaluate that for you and help you refine it, and if it turns out that, oh, this is not a successful business model, then you want to go back to the drawing board.
Okay, thank you guys. So now we're going to go back to our New Get Kids folks, and what I think you guys had a lot of upfront investment. So if you could talk a little bit about how did you fund that? How did you make that happen?
Sure. So obviously we used some of our savings, but first thing I would say is we did a lot of planning. a lot of planning went into writing a business plan that would work and show what we are doing and how to progress throughout the years. I can't say enough about, the value of business plan. You have to get that thing right from the get-go. Then we approached a lot of banks. We got loan approved from 5 banks, but we went with Invest, I see Wayne there, and it's been a wonderful experience for us. They work with us, they believe in our vision, they believe in our plan, and they actually work with us so that we get a working capital to begin with. That's how we started actually. Like Hima said sometime back, we have to build the whole building. We can't just say, okay, we start 1 class today, have kids there, then we'll start. No, it's the whole building we have to prepare. We built the whole building, took about 1 year, and then we had only 3 kids in the beginning. What do you do? But we knew it's gonna work because there is a need. We believe in our vision, our curriculum. We hired the right staff. So as far as we are concerned, the banking experience was awesome. Our relationship with Invest has been great. They have helped us throughout pandemic. Not that we got a similar loans from other banks, but I'm glad that actually we went to Invest. And also to note down, we also approached other SDBC, SPDC. Rick was very helpful. We probably visited his office 20, 30 times for that initial phase. And every single time we would go and he would just say, go do this homework, And then we would go back again and he would say, no, this is not right, do another one. So, like they said, it's very good to have somebody who could basically see from their side. We are emotionally invested into the business itself. And there are a lot of other avenues we have here. Collider is there that Amanda runs. Expo is there. We have gotten some small ones from Smith. I don't think there is lack of resources in this community as such. You just need to find the right folks at the right time. But the foremost is basically you need to believe in what your product is and put your sincere efforts to make sure you can convince others to come forward and help.
Thank you. So I want to jump to, the big elephant in the room, of course, for all businesses, COVID, and how you had to switch and kind of change your model for that. So if you could talk a little bit about, was it good for you? In some businesses it actually helped. Was it hard? And then how did you change? And is there anything in that change that you're going to keep moving forward? And Crystal, you want to grab that one and tell Jim you're going to question.
So initially, probably like a lot of you, when the pandemic first started, it was quite scary. We had been open for business for 1 year exactly. We opened March of 2019 in our commercial space for roasting. One of the restaurants that we had at the time that we were providing coffee for, that was a very consistent order every week, had to close, and then eventually sold their business. And also we had just started talking to St. James Coffee about them using our beans, and they had to close down. So what could we do in the meantime to make up for that so that our business didn't sink after just getting started? And really, we ended up pivoting towards a lot more online sales. We targeted people who were working from home and offered free local delivery to their doorstep. So you could order online and we drop it off at your door, and we still do that. And actually, that's what we're doing after this today. So that is, it definitely takes a little bit of time, but I know that people really appreciate that. They don't even have to worry about trying to find us in the grocery store. We can just drop it off at your door. So, and then really focusing our marketing on how to enjoy coffee at home. and make it yourself at home, which we're going to hopefully soon start an educational series on social media about that as well. We also, for a bit, we had just gotten into the Rochester Farmers Market with our coffee cart, which was something that Jim came up or kind of designed to be able to be at the farmers market. We wanted to be able to sell our beans, but we don't grow them locally, and we're a local growers market. So he designed our coffee cart so that we could be there as a concession vendor, and then we're able to sell our beans there as well. But the market didn't run that summer, did it? Wait, we did.
Yeah, they were, I think concessions were closed.
Concessions were, yeah. So we were really banking on that starting, and when we found out that there was going to be a delay, we ended up setting up our coffee cart in our shop, and we did like a text to, like we just had people text us what they wanted for drinks, and we did a curbside pickup. We didn't have the system in place to be able to place an online order and us to be able to run it out to you, but we were just like, hey, just text our phone and we'll bring it right out. So we did a little bit of that, or people would order on Facebook. But those were kind of the main things that we changed. Oh, and then we did free shipping on orders over $40. It's $45 now. But things that we will keep in place is the free local delivery that has been huge for people. Jim also started, and I'm really proud of him for this, but he adds in a little personalized note into that delivery. So people seem to really enjoy that personal touch. And then we'll continue the free shipping for orders over 45. We do have a dream, we don't know when it will happen, but of turning our current roasting space into maybe a sit-down coffee shop, maybe a place where we do classes. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that thought.
What you'll do after the pandemic. So that sounds like a good idea. I could see a total night out of learning how to roast coffee as kind of a destination thing.
Yeah, oh, that was the other thing. We were starting to talk about roasting classes right before the pandemic and creating that option. And so far we have had one group that reached out. It was like shortly after vaccines were available, and we've had a successful group of 4 go through a roasting class where Jim provides education for the first like 30 to 60 minutes on the roasting process. You get to have a coffee drink while you're there. Some brought, extra beverages if they wanted it. They were celebrating a birthday, so they brought cake. And then they got to roast their own coffee on our small 1K roaster and bring those beans home with them. So it was quite an experience. And I think as we grow, we'll plan on doing that as well moving forward.
That sounds really good. Little Thistle, COVID pivot and coming out of COVID.
So we were a business that we were completely shut down, so we could not have any customers in our business for several months. And so we filled cans and did curbside pickup, which was really successful. And I think part of our pivot was, of course, Steve brewing like a different beer every day, practically, and keeping things interesting and keeping people coming back to try something new. And we're fortunate that people were drinking a lot during the pandemic. So and they were taking it home and drinking it at home, so they weren't driving anywhere. So so they were buying in bigger quantities. And so and we also heard a lot of people coming through, picking up cans to take home and saying, are you guys doing okay? Do you really want you to be here after the pandemic? And so that was really meaningful for us. It really showed, that the community, what kind of community support we had. The other thing is when we purchased our property, our property is almost 2 acres. So we have a building, we have parking lot, but we have a big outdoor space, and we didn't have enough money to finish it out the first year. But we did add the winter of 2019, a pergola that was fitted out with solar panels, and we had that was in place before the end of the year, so we could get some tax credits. So that was done, but there wasn't anything under it. So there were no picnic tables, there was nothing. And so around April of 2020, we said, we better get somebody in here to make us some picnic tables. This is gonna be really valuable space this summer. And so we contacted our construction company that we had originally worked with, and they came over and built a bunch of picnic tables, and we threw some rock down, and that was really integral. And I think that, you know, that's one of the things we referred to earlier is people showed up at our space that maybe wouldn't have showed up at our space before, and we made them feel comfortable and we made them feel safe. And I think that, you know, that's something that we'll continue to do. And then having cans in the market, and so you can talk a little bit about that. Oh yeah, we did end up completely changing our point of sale system to more accommodate online orders, and the system will even allow, we didn't know where code was going to go and how long it was going to be around. And so you can scan a QR code and it'll show the menu, and we would have been able to do table service like that if it would have come to that, and unfortunately it didn't. But and then keeping our staff safe. We have a really small staff, but it was really important to us to really keep our staff safe. So we implemented really stringent protocols and invested a lot of money in PPE and cleaning supplies and everything that we, you know, and we were checking in with staff constantly to like, do you feel okay? Is there anything else you need? Do you, you know, what do you want us to buy more masks? Those kind of things. And it was really important to us as well that our staff felt safe in their jobs. And so most of our staff are part-time, and they have other full-time jobs that's where they get most of their income. But we had 4 full-time staff members, and not including Steve and myself. And it was really important that we wanted to keep them full-time. And so everybody kind of changed roles, everybody changed responsibilities, and we all worked and checked in with each other on, you know, how's everybody's mental health, how's everybody doing physically. You know, it was really, we felt like we were working harder and just in a different capacity throughout the pandemic. But we were able to keep all of our staff on full-time employment while we were shut down. So that was important to us.
I mean, the only other one thing I would say that was really quite stressful is, you know, everything changed so much every week, every minute. And then when you have a social media presence and making sure, and never anticipated that, and like, you know, be very careful what you say on social media. There's a lot going on, political, everything, and COVID and safety and everything. So just emotionally, thought, you know, to make sure that you say something that isn't misinterpreted or said wrong or whatever. And so those are the kind of things too, when you have a business and you have a presence and you have a voice, and stay true to that voice. When we stay true, we felt all the way through the pandemic. Number one, everyone's safe. And that's just really that's always working.
Thank you. People appreciate that. So as we think about Eureka Kids and running a preschool and daycare, that had to have been significantly impacted by COVID. And what did you learn? How did you survive from that?
Fortunately, our customer base was, I would say it was strong, but where we got hit was with regard to the staffing. Like Don said, our center, at full capacity, we need 25 staff to run. And so staffing was a big challenge. Thankfully, the licensing rules were a little relaxed. So we need a different strata or different qualifications to be in the classroom. And those rules were a little relaxed. And so we could survive. I would use the word survive. We just survived the pandemic. Now things are back up, and we feel like, you know, more people are applying for jobs, and we have more pool of people to get a good selection from. So staffing is kind of improving at this point. Unfortunately, we couldn't go online to provide care for the kids. So that was a big challenge. And what it was to feel like having COVID at your own center, we didn't realize for the past 2 years. It was last month when we got hit when our first staff tested positive almost after 2 years. And so I would say our biggest challenge among the past 2 years was last month when we got hit with COVID at our center, other than staffing. Staffing was a constant challenge throughout the pandemic period. What changed? We used to have yoga classes for the preschool and the pre-K kids, and we used to have cooking as well as dance classes. All that came to an end because we didn't want to invite one more problem with those additional people coming to the center. So all those extracurricular stuff that we were running kind of came to an end. So we would think of starting that only post-pandemic.
Yeah, so thank you. That sounds like a wise move. So I warned you guys that this hour would go fast. So this is my first time leading a panel with couples. And so as we end, I'd like you, why don't you guys, you still have the mic. What was it like? What has it been like? What is it like to run a business with your significant other?
I would say it's been a wonderful experience. I mean, we both, our story is a bit different, so I will not go that, we need 1 more hour for that. We got back together actually 6 years back. We both have a different background, we come from different families, but we had a passion for kids. So when we both lost a lot of time in our life, so we wanted to basically recoup that time and see what we can do for us and also for the community. We lived here for more than 20 years, which just has given so much to us. So we wanted to see what we can do to give it back to community in some way. And we both, I remember, we used to have a discussion about, okay, what could we start? We bounced between restaurant and childcare center, and we decided to basically go to childcare center just for one reason, so that we can have our weekends back. But at the same time, running a childcare center is very, every business is different. It has its own challenges. There are a lot of regulations. We are dealing with kids of young age. So that was challenging, but we did a lot of homework in every single stage, and we planned ahead of time. And then the other part probably is, how do we balance our work-life balance? At home, we're always together. We're always together wherever we go. We're at the center. We're at home. We do all the cooking together. Take care of kids together. We both also work in Mayo. So we are kind of in a unique position where we always keep running. She's a sprinter. I just follow her. So maybe she can answer better than me.
You covered it all. But I would add, I would still say, when it was at challenging times, I still ask Mangesh, you're the one who vouched for childcare center. Just kidding. It has been really challenging these 2 years, especially due to pandemic. Otherwise, I think things would have been very different, and our lives would have been different for everyone, just not us.
Thank you. All right, Denise, you're up. What's it like being co-founding couple?
I love it. You love it.
Sure.
I think, Steve and I knew early on that, that it was going to be challenging and that sometimes you're going to have different opinions, but as long as you come together at the end, and even if, you feel strongly about something, there's always a compromise to be made. And so we always listen to each other and never discount what the other's saying. And, I think, knowing where you're going to go and what you want to do and just sticking to that, and then keep reminding each other of those things, like this was our plan and this is how we're going to execute it. And, for us, Steve's the big dreamer and the big thinker and has all the big ideas. And then I'm the more like reasonable kind of like, does that make sense? So So it really balances us out, and I think, the other part of that question was advice for other people, and I think, that would be, what would your advice be? Oh, I know. My advice would be, know what you do well and know what you, don't do well. And when you know that you don't do something well, then find somebody else who knows how to do that. And that's one of the biggest things that we found is that, we know how to make beer and we do that really well, but we don't know how to make food and we don't want to be in that business. And, and there's other parts of, our business that we've leaned on, our marketing and branding team, we work with White Space here that's local. And they're fantastic. That's not something that we know how to do. So we sought expertise in that. And so I think it's, recognizing that will alleviate a lot of headaches.
And I think that's why we enjoy collaborating with so many different businesses, because we've learned a ton. And then it is collaborating and building this network of like-minded people. And that's really important. Like we've done some stuff with Joker Coffee, and I have another idea to pitch to you guys too. But I think obviously you have to have a good relationship first. It's going to test your relationship. It really is. And especially if you're in a pandemic, no one's not coming. So there's definitely some challenges, but I think what Don said is completely true. And so just being respectful of one another. And like I said, as I always say, you know what you know and you know what you don't know. If you got to ask yourself that question first, you got to be honest. You got to be okay to take feedback and and stuff like that. So, those crucial things.
Okay, to finish us up, we've got Jim and Crystal.
I guess didn't want to take the mic first this time. It's been eye-opening. I mean, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, it's been great. I feel like we balance each other out really well. She is more of the dreamer than I am, believe it or not. So I keep us more grounded. And I don't know, I feel like we can bounce ideas off of each other and talk about it. And because honestly, what else do we have to talk about, right? Like
Okay, don't go there.
I feel like no, that's not true. But I feel like my brain just never shuts off. I'm always thinking about things, and a lot of the time it's just business related things. And so I feel like, yeah, we can talk about things at home for a bit and then, pivot to something else. So I want to see what she has to say.
No, I agree. I think we definitely balance each other out. 2 years ago, no, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, when Jim left his corporate job, I was the one nudging him to leave that job. And that was full of financial security. And so he is the one who's really grounded and like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, let's do this, right? Also, if anybody knows about the Enneagram, that has saved us a ton because I'm a 2, which is the helper. I'm also a visionary and I love to inspire and dream. And Jim is a 1, so he is very has his eye on the details and wants to make sure everything's going to work out before we try it. But that really does balance, because when I throw something out there, he's like, "That's crazy. It's never going to work." He's most of the time. He's right. So, and then you try to meet somewhere in the middle. But seriously though, like 90% of our conversations at home are about coffee or what we're going to do next or who we should partner with or what the plan. And I'll be like, okay, so like even this morning he was pitching something to me as I'm getting ready to come here. And I'm like, okay, so what's your timeline for this? And he's like, I don't have one. So it's stirring and I have to let it stir. And I think you're so right, like knowing what you're good at, even like within your relationship, right? Knowing what your spouse is good at, and then knowing when to outsource that to other people is huge.
Thank you. All right. So I want us to give a round of applause to this great group of people. Thanks for being my guinea pigs for my first couples session. This actually went okay, I think. Yeah, so what we're going to do now is there's going to be some tasks.